Welcome to the Spiritist Companion Podcast. My name is Yuri Castro, and I'll be your companion on this journey where we study, reflect, and put Spiritist teachings into practice. If you like what you hear, don't forget to subscribe, to follow our pages, and to recommend this podcast to someone who might also benefit from it. In today's episode, we dive deeper into Chapter 2 of The Gospel According to Spiritism by Allan Kardec, in the chapter that is titled, My Kingdom is Not of This World, which is one of the most profound and transformative declarations of Jesus. And we have this one back in John chapter 18, when Jesus said to Pilate, My kingdom is not of this world. But what did he mean by that? Where is this kingdom that he speaks of? And how can we live here on earth while keeping our eyes on a better world? So let's explore this teaching through the illuminating lens of Spiritism. Firstly, the spiritual context of Jesus' teaching is important because for many people this phrase may seem to indicate only that Jesus rejected earthly power. But Spiritism reveals a far wider meaning. Jesus spoke of a moral, spiritual, universal kingdom far superior to the material limitations that we have here on earth. Kardec, the author of the book, is going to tell us that Jesus did not seek an earthly kingdom, but the kingdom of heaven, which is the perfectibility of beings. Christ, a pure spirit, could not find on earth, which is still a world of trials and atonements, as we always talk about, the full expression of the perfection that he represented, and he knew that. Which is why he said, My kingdom is not of this world. Meaning, the true, definitive, elevated world is not the material one, is not this world of trials and atonements full of pain and suffering and selfishness. It's also important to note that Kardec says in Chapter 2 that not every kingly title involves temporal power. Earthly royalty ends with life as with anything else that is material and temporary, but moral royalty continues to govern, especially after death. In this sense, is Jesus not far greater than many rulers of the earth? It was with reason, therefore, that he said to Pilate, I am a king, but my kingdom is not of this world. We learn in Spiritism that there are many worlds out there and different stages of evolution, and Earth is but one of those worlds. The spirit is reborn many times until it reaches the perfection, the plenitude of the spirit, and this one we can find in question 172 of the Spirit's book. The spirits then explain in the subsequent questions how we reincarnate into more advanced worlds as we progress morally. Thus, we can understand that this kingdom of Jesus is this kingdom of pure spirits, free from suffering, from selfishness, from pride, from pain, from having to reincarnate again to atone for their mistakes. That is where we are all headed, through merit, effort, and inner transformation. Being that the earth is a stage of evolution for the spirit, we don't see the world as necessarily quote-unquote bad. It is something that is temporary and something that is improving. And the goods of the world are these divine loans granted for our progress and for the common good, as we learn through so many Spiritist authors. That is why also Jesus said, Lay not up for yourselves treasures on earth, but in heaven. And this passage we have in Matthew. chapter 6. So it's not that we cannot have possessions necessarily, but that we cannot be attached to them. Because we understand that everything passes. What remains is who we become. What remains are the treasures that Jesus spoke of, the treasures that we take with us, the virtues that we work while we have the temporary possessions, such as power, such as money, time, intelligence. Because becoming attached to what is material and what is going to pass eventually is a form of materialism. And the materialist sees the thinking being only in the body and nothing beyond it, because for that person, therefore, death is the end. Not understanding that the soul is eternal can cause us to fear death, to overvalue the possessions, to develop our selfishness, to seek only power, influence, or pleasures as if they were ends in themselves. But when we understand that the true life is spiritual life, everything around us changes. Interestingly, in this chapter, Kardec is going to relay a message that came from a queen of France in spirit, and she's going to say that to earn a place in this kingdom, the kingdom of Jesus, self-denial, humility, charity, in its most heavily practiced and benevolence toward all are necessary. So she's telling us about the prerequisites of the kingdom of Jesus. And this is coming from someone who herself mentioned that she had known power on earth, meaning the temporary power of the crown. She also talks about how you're not asked what you were or what position you held, but the good you did and the tears you wiped away, meaning what you did when you were in that position with those possessions that will eventually come to pass. So the comfort of my kingdom is not of this world can be something that truly transforms the way we see things, I believe. Belief in this future enables us to bear the vicissitudes of life with patience, as Allan Kardec also says. If Christ's kingdom were here, it would be impossible to reconcile it with pain, with injustice, with inequality. But it is not here, which means that all suffering is temporary, that every trial has a purpose, every true love continues, every tear will be comforted, and every soul is destined for happiness. Material life is a stage, because our destiny, my dear friends, is far greater. We are citizens of the universe, travelers of eternity. Earth is our school, not our final homeland. Even the author, Leon Denis, says in his book After Death, how Earth is this brief resting place, because true life lies beyond. That is why Jesus invites us to live here, but with our hearts aligned with the good, the higher, the eternal. So I brought a few things here for us to apply these teachings in our daily lives, my dear friends. So number one, reevaluate our expectations. So asking ourselves, where have I placed my sense of worth? Have I placed that in external things, in material things, in temporary things? Or in my inner transformation and in doing good for others? Number two, let's cultivate healthy detachment, not abandoning our responsibilities, but remembering nothing is ours. Everything is entrusted to us. We have those things temporarily, but we must make good use of them. So a simple exercise, and this may come as something silly to some of you, but choose an object you really like and silently say, I'm grateful to use this, but I can live without it. We can also reduce excessive worry. When we understand that we are passing through our worries, I can think that they shrink, because problems that otherwise seemed enormous, they can become temporary, or they can become less in terms of intensity. Number 4, prioritize eternal relationships and values, the true treasures. So dedicating more time to what endures: love, kindness, forgiveness, patience, study, charity, all those things that we'll take with us. And number 5, serve more. Selfless service brings us closer to the kingdom that Jesus spoke about. A visit, a phone call, a small message, a prayer, a gesture of listening, all of these are lights that we place in the world. My dear friends, when Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world," He invited us to lift our eyes from the ground and look toward the greater life that awaits us. A kingdom of peace, of justice, of understanding, and of love. A kingdom we begin building within ourselves each time we make a morally superior choice, which is something we have talked over and over and over in this podcast. So may we live in this world, but not be enslaved by it. May we love, may we work and progress, always remembering that our destiny is the light. And now we reach the end of another episode of the Spiritist Companion podcast. And I want to thank you so much, my dear friends, for staying with me, for listening with patience, with kindness in person when you talk to me, or for those who leave comments on our Spotify or YouTube. I want to thank you so much. And as usual, if this reflection touched your heart, share it with someone who's also seeking to understand life with more depth and with more hope. I'll see you in another episode, and until then, stay in peace, value your incarnation, and walk with faith toward the true kingdom. With fraternal love, your Spiritist companion.